Hi guys, welcome back to Welcome Home Custom. Today we are going to learn how to assemble our Showstopper Lion. Let's get started. All right guys, let's jump into the files. First and foremost, we have instructions and color planner folder. The instructions will walk you through the colors used in the file, the woods I used in the file, both the Showstopper size and the mini DIY size. And then it will show you a different breakdown of the files and what to expect. One thing to keep in mind is that anything that has engraved or scored in the name will need to be cut on your laser face up. You can also identify that easily if the number is on top of the piece, like they are right here. That means you need to place your good side face down in your laser, cut with the bad side face up, because you're scoring the numbers on the back and you're cutting, and then we'll flip the pieces and we'll be able to use these numbers for placement. Then if it is engraved or scored, you'll notice that the number is off to the side. That's always a good indicator that it is a good side face up file. I also included an extra frame this time, and this is just to add a little bit more detail to the outside of the frame. Let's go ahead and jump on into some of the files so that you can see examples. Oh, I should probably go over Color Planner real quick. Color Planner, this is for folks that don't have a big laser. You can use this to figure out where all of your pieces go. There is one for the Showstopper, and there is also one for the Mini. We have the separated master and the shared line master. The big difference between those two, if we open them up, you can see that for the shared line, all of the lines are separated. This is typically going to be used for someone that wants to do a fast, straight cut. If you want to do a straight cut, then you can just ignore the numbers altogether. This can also be used as a backer. If you use it as a backer, I would suggest ignoring your fill and the score line. And then you could select everything, change it all to black, and then you can score all of this on your backer. Next, we have the separated master. This is for anyone that wants to resize the file in a different aspect ratio. So if you wanted to stretch it out, or if you wanted to stretch it out this way, and you want to resize, that is what the separated master is for. Because all of these pieces are separated, and then you could sort them out by color. But you can't use the cut by color and resize them if you want to change the aspect ratio, okay? So keep that in mind. The aspect ratio needs to be locked if you're going to change your cut by color files. So let's go ahead and delete this off. And then hopping over to the cut by color files, you have kerf and no kerf. No kerf means I have not applied any sort of offset to adjust for kerf. That is for folks that know the kerf of their laser and want to apply their own. For the kerf files, I've applied a 0.002 inch offset for anyone that wants a one size fits most offset. And let's go ahead and jump in and look at these. So we have black A and B, cherry engraved, which means again that needs to be good side face up. We have regular cherry, mahogany, there's two pieces, maple, oak, and walnut. These files are formatted to fit on a file size that is 18.5 by 10.85. If you have bigger pieces than that, you can cut multiple pieces at a time. One thing to note, you always want to check your 1 inch square to make sure it's 1 by 1 inch and it did not shrink. Another thing I mentioned is that we can resize the files if we wish. So we would want to make this 24 by 30 because that is the actual size of the Showstopper as formatted. And then we would want to go ahead and grab everything, and then we would resize it from there. Make sure that your aspect ratio is locked. So you could make this 20 if you want, and then it's going to make your height 25. Okay. You would do that for all the files. Just know that there are some file pieces that are fairly small. So the smaller you get, the smaller these pieces are going to get, especially for this little piece in here. So just keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and jump on over to assembly. I've cut my backer, and I already dry fit my backer once, and then I went back and trimmed it again, so we'll see if that worked. But what I would do now is dry fit all my pieces again. So you can see my pieces are kind of scattered everywhere. I try to organize them by number 1 through 10, 11 through 20, etc. And so now we are simply just going to place all the pieces. Now, if you don't have a laser that is big enough to score the backer, just use the color planner that's included. That is what that is for. You know, when I started creating these, I was using a Glowforge Pro. And so you absolutely do not have to score a backer. Does it make it easier? Absolutely it does, but it is not a requirement. Okay? So just keep that in mind. For sake of time, I am going to go ahead and speed this part up. I am just placing the pieces where they're supposed to go on the backer. You'll also notice that I have my frame already cut, and I am using that to hold the pieces in place and make it easier just to see how the pieces are going to fit. I have not attached the frame yet because I may need to still trim the backer. Now, I like to use a track saw to trim my backer. It is small, it's portable, and they're very, very easy to use rather than having to set up my table saw to run the piece through. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and glue this bad boy up. Now, I cut my backer a few times to try to get it really tight, but then I think I overcorrected because now it's a little too tight. So we might struggle a little bit getting this glued up, but we're gonna try our best. So I'm gonna use my Titebond to dot some corners for any pieces that might pop up. And then I'm gonna use my Star Bond for anything that might pop up, and then I'm going to use my Titebond 3 to just glue pieces down, and then I'm going to use my blue tape as I go along to pick pieces up. So we grab a piece of tape. We see these pieces in the corner are already super tight, so I'm going to try to do those first. You can see how they all just like came flying out, and that is because I made them way too tight. So what I'm going to end up doing, probably glue in these 3 pieces first and then do these pieces, but I'm going to not add Star Bond to these because these are going to be super tight. So I'm just going to go straight in with my glue and actually would probably be easier to just do it on the piece itself. So I'm going to add glue to my piece and place it down, add some glue, and I'm going to pop that one in. I am a mess today. So again, I just ended up trimming my backer too much, and that's why all of the pieces are popping in so tight. Which, whoopsie. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up just a little bit. I am working through the pieces one at a time. You'll also notice that I ended up trying a new thing where I painted the backer black. This actually helped out quite a bit. It hides any gaps there might be in the piece when you're assembling. I ended up not having any gaps because my stuff was so tight, but it just, I don't know, it just worked. So I highly recommend trying it if you haven't tried it before. Now I'm going to go ahead and slow this down just a sec. I am adding glue, the tight bond, to this big piece, but I'm going to go ahead and dot the ends with Star Bond, and this is going to act kind of like weighing it down. The Star Bond is going to create a quick adhesion and hold the piece down and keep it from warping. This is a spray accelerator I just put straight onto the board. It doesn't mess up paint, it doesn't mess up the wood. And I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, pop it into place, and then I need to hold it for about 5 to 10 seconds, and the piece is now held down. I'm going to go ahead and speed this back up. So I proceeded to go ahead and glue down all of the lion's mane first, and then I ended up coming back to the lion face and then finished with the backer. My reasoning for this is I wanted to make sure that the face would fit after I had glued down all of the lion's mane. And I was concerned that if I moved the face and then tried to glue down more of the mane or more of the backer, pieces would shift and then I'd have a tough time getting things glued in. So this process actually worked great. Now I mentioned I added frame corners this time. This is just to help fake out your frame and make it look like it's got a miter cut. I did a farmhouse style frame, but then I created this file that we can just glue on top of the farmhouse frame. The file is made to be 0.45 inches wide, and I used a frame that was 1/2 inch wide. So you're going to want to align the frame overlay with the inside of your frame wood. That way it is closest to the lion, and then any additional overlap that you have of the frame behind will be on the outside perimeter, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to use some Rubio Monocoat to finish my piece. The Rubio Monocoat is a mixture of what they call Oil Plus 2C, which is their component A, and I'm using pure, which means there's no color, and you mix it with their accelerator, which is their component B. You want to do 3 parts of the component A to 1 part of the component B. I started with applying with their applicator brush, but then I decided to go ahead and switch over to a paintbrush. And at first I was concerned that maybe I wouldn't get a good adhesion, but it actually turned out beautiful. So to get all of those crooks and crannies of the lion mane, a paintbrush will work just fine. Now you would let the Rubio Monocoat sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you come back with a terry cloth towel and you rub away all of the excess oil, and you are left with a beautiful finish. I found that this stuff is so easy to apply. I don't know if I'm ever going to use anything else again, to be honest with you. It's a really nice sheen, and there's no weird overlap mess, and it's not oily. I've been very happy with it. So I highly recommend it. All right, guys, that's it. Hopefully you found the tutorial helpful. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out my other tutorials just like this one. Thanks so much.